Hey, Battle Bill here with another video, and today we're getting some more Great League Go Battle League battles. Alright, I got a shoutcast for you guys. Not just any shoutcast, I'm shoutcasting a set of battles from a fellow content creator here on YouTube. You might know him. His name is Shrady. If you don't, I highly recommend this channel. The link to it is in the description of this video. He's been putting out some pretty consistent content for the past couple months. I just came across it a little while ago, maybe a couple weeks ago or whatnot, and I think he's been doing a really great job putting out Go Battle League content and just Pokemon Go PvP content. He does a really good job commentating. He goes through his thought processes really well. They're great battles, and I think he's got a pretty dope personality, so I highly recommend him. I'm excited to go through these battles with you guys. He's got a unique little Double Dark Great League Strat going on, similar to one that Niantic actually just put out. I must have just been in sync with the thought process, except there's a slight difference. He's running Azu and Shrady similar to Niantic, but instead of Umbreon, he is running Zweilous in the back. So definitely some interesting picks that I can't wait to see in action. If you're excited for this content, like I said, go to his channel, throw it a sub, and also, if you don't mind throwing a little like, comment, subscribe to my channel too, that'd be great. Let's jump into these battles. His elo is around the 2600 range, so we got some solid rank 9 battles going on with this team, and I'm quite curious to see how he plays out certain situations and how well this team does against the competition. So in this first match, he's got an Azu on Hypno lead, and it's not exactly the most positive one, especially when you got two dark counters in the back for it. So he decides to swap into his Zweilous. He didn't catch a move, and he does kind of have to be concerned about an Ice Punch. The Hypno decides to leave, and they swap in an Umbreon to counter the Zweilous. So now the question is, who wins this matchup? I don't really know if Umbreon's that much of a counter, considering it is tankier than Zweilous, but Zweilous is applying a ton of pressure with its Dragon Breaths, and it definitely gets those body slams relatively quickly, but that last resort from Umbreon did hurt the Zweilous a lot. So even though Zweilous is chunking away at Umbreon gets those last resorts pretty quickly because it has a quick move of Snarl. So it's a pretty tight one right here. He gets to another body slam before the Umbreon gets off another charge move. So this will either take it out or get the Umbreon's first shield. It gets the Umbreon's first shields. And now another charge move is coming through. He's going to commit his shields. And it kind of looks like he can commit to a Dragon Breath down of this Umbreon and keep switch advantage. So let's see how this ends up playing out. It's kind of hard to count Umbreon Snarls because the Dragon Breaths are literally covering the entire Pokemon. And now the Hypno comes back in because he was able to take out the Umbreon, and he's going to let his Zweilous go down because it did its job. So that explains why the Hypno didn't throw anything. It's probably running Fire Punch and Thunder Punch. I've been seeing Shadow Hypnos running that moveset a lot more recently, especially this season. And he was able to get off one last Body Slam before getting Confusion down. And honestly, the Zweilous did some solid work to the Hypno. It makes sense. It's resisting the Confusion damage. So he now brings in a Shrady. This is most likely going to be a Thunder Punch. Oh, Shadow Ball. Interesting play there. Could you have thrown two neutral Fire Punches? I feel like you just want to go for the neutral move either way. But regardless, his opponent swapped out the Hypno before letting it get countered down and brought in a Shift Tree. So it's looking like GG. It looks like Shrady's team is just going to mop the floor and finish this Shift Tree off and finish off the Hypno, probably just by countering it down. So he gets that counter through, takes out the Shift Tree, and then the Hypno, and the opponent decides to quit. Completely understand, his team performed really well against his opponents. You know what I just realized? His opponent was running a Double Dark strategy of their own with Umbreon and Shift Tree in the back. Shrady's turned out to be, just a bit better there. So getting into this next match, he has an Azu on another Psychic type, this one being the Psychic Steel type Jirachi. It makes the most sense to want to pull up that switch menu and get one of your Dark types into this matchup. Even though Azu probably could win it if it lands a Hydro Pump, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, maybe he wanted to let Doom Desire go through, but Azu stayed in just a bit long to take that Doom Desire, and then he save swaps into his Zweilous again. This actually serves another good purpose of luring out the fighter. So he has two Dark types in the back. You don't want that Machamp to stay back there and then waste your Azu on Jirachi and then have nothing for the Machamp. You bring in his Zweilous, it got the shield with the body slam, and even though the Machamp is going to counter down his Zweilous, at least the Azu can come in and kind of deal with this Machamp instead of letting both Shrady and Zweilous get destroyed by it. So this kind of worked itself out nicely, similar to my double Mudboy strat where I'll swap in a Mudboy to lure out the grass type for then Skarmory to come in and take out. He lets that charge move through, ends up being a Rock Slide, and this is a bit concerning. If the opponent decides to shield this and counter down the Azu, his Shrady's going to have a hard time. Luckily, his opponent didn't shield, took out the Machamp, has a 2 shield to 1 shield advantage, and we're waiting to see what his opponent is going to decide to do next. So his opponents brought the Jirachi back in. He swapped to a Scrafty because if Azu stayed in, it just would have turned into energy for that Jirachi. And his opponent's going for a charge move. Should be another Doom Desire. He shields it, and now his opponent swaps into Sableye. So now Scrafty doesn't really have a bad matchup here. He's going for the Power Up Punch, and it's going to be key if his opponent decides to shield or not. Opponent decides not to shield, but at least he gets the boost. The Power Up Punch is single resisted because of Sableye's Ghost and Dark typing. And now he's going for a foul play, and the question is going to be, does his opponent think this is another Power Up Punch? It gets through and practically takes out the Sableye there. He gets another counter through, and the Scrafty's powered up at this point. So these counters are really starting to add up against the Jirachi, and they're dealing neutral damage because Jirachi is Psychic and Steel. So he gets another Power Up Punch, gets his opponent's last shields, and honestly he could shield whatever the charge move is that the Jirachi wants to throw, and he should be able to counter down without any issue. It's taking neutral damage from the confusion, so Scrafty was able to handle this situation very well in the back. So far, I'm really digging this team. He's playing it nicely. I like the strategy behind it. And so far, you know, that Scrafty's gone off pretty well. So the question is it going to run into anything that might be able to counter it? I don't know. Let's find out. He's got Azu on a Shadow Machamp lead here, and this is exactly where you want to see a Shadow Machamp. His opponent decides to swap into the Hypno, and he goes for his Zweilous. So this seems like a very positive matchup for him. He's going straight for the Dark Pulse, maybe assuming his opponent is going to think he's going to bait. So going straight for the big move and literally one-shots the Hypno. So his opponent didn't shield there. The Machamp does come back in, but these Dragon Breaths are adding up, and he will be able to get to a Body Slam. So even though the Dark Pulse didn't get a shield from the Hypno, he's still getting the shield with his Zweilous. So Zweilous is really put in some work as a solid safe swap option, and then the Machamp's able to counter it down, and it does have a good chunk of energy, but as you can eat a couple Rock Slides, so it's not the end of the world. Plus the Machamp is low, so does he really? He doesn't even really need a charge move to take out the Machamp. So his opponent's going for a charge move here. This should be a Rock Slide, but like I said, as you can tank it, didn't need to shield this. It gets him in the yellow. If his opponent gets to another one, then he might want to shield it just because you don't want the Scrafty to take any counter damage. He's deciding not to, but Azu survives it. My bad. My math is a little bit off there, clearly. Then his opponent swaps into a Galarian Stunfisk, and he's going to get off the Hydro Pump, and he's got Scrafty in the back, and oh my god, the Hydro Pump landed, and the Scrafty is going to be able to take out the Machamp that's barely got any health. So even though it got like a couple counters through, even if his Azu was taken out by the Rock Slide, I don't even know what my thought process there. He played that perfectly. That was pretty wild. His opponent saved their shield for their next match, clearly. The more I see him use his team, the more I really want to try out this team for myself, to be honest. I think my only issue is I don't have a Zweilous made, so I need to get on that. Even if it doesn't have the best IVs, Dino's pretty rare, so it would be worth making a bad IV Zweilous. Either way, get into this next match. He's got Azu on Stunfisk lead. The Stunfisk is running Mud Shot as a quick move, but he still wants to stick to the strat and lure out potential fighting type Pokemon in the back. He was also able to catch a Discharge, which is pretty huge in itself. His opponent does not have a fighter in the back. It ends up being a Skarmory, which does counter the Zweilous pretty well. But if he can get this Dark Pulse through, it will be huge in him potentially flipping this matchup. The Dark Pulse gets through and gets a Skarmory in the yellow. So let's see how he decides to play this out. The question is, does he really want to commit to Switch Advantage, even though that Stunfisk is running Mud Shot? His Azu doesn't have Ice Beam though, so I guess that would kind of hinder him in that matchup. He would really need to land that Hydro Pump to do maximum damage against that Stunfisk. Whereas if he had Ice Beam, he could still deal super effective damage with that. So it depends on what the thought processes are. Either way though, he still wants to stick to a strat, which he's clearly doing here. He looks like he's also committing to Switch Advantage, giving up his shields and committing to the Dragon Breath down of his opponent's Skarmory, even though they still have a leftover shield. Now the question is, what is his opponent going to do to try and finish off this Zweilous? And they bring their Stunfisk back in. He gets off this Dragon Breath, and this will do a decent little chip damage to the Stunfisk, and now the Stunfisk is committing to a Mud Shot down of the Zweilous, and does have a decent amount of energy, but it did throw that Discharge earlier, so it doesn't have as much energy as it could have potentially had if he didn't pull off a really good swap. His opponent's going for a charge move. This should be a Mud Bomb. He decided to bring a Scrafty back in, which makes the most sense. You don't want your Azu to take super effective damage while shields are down. And now his opponent's getting to another charge move here. Should be another, oh, it's a Discharge this time. I guess they weren't expecting to get to another charge move after that charge move. And he's going for his Power Up Punch here, which will either get the shield, doubtful, probably take out the Stunfisk. takes it out, and now we have to find out, or we're going to find out, that his opponent's last Pokemon is a Shadow Hypno. So the Scrafty is powered up. He's going immediately for the Foul Play, and it'd be very courageous if his opponent didn't shield that. His opponent did shield that though, because honestly, I don't know if it would have one-shot. It was powered up, but it probably would have gotten that Hypno like to this much health. And his Azu has plenty of health right now, so he brings it in. He's going for the Hydro Pump. This game is pretty much wrapped up. That didn't take out the Hypno, but there's nothing this Hypno can do. Even 2 Thunder Punches, Azu should still be able to hold on by a little bit. And even if I'm wrong about that, the Scrafty in the back, no, I'm not wrong about that. The Scrafty in the back could take out the Hypno regardless. So his opponent's getting to a second charge move. It'll be another Thunder Punch, and this will get the Azu really low, and he was able to bubble the Shadow Hypno to take the 4th match of the set. So he's doing a really great job showcasing his team. Off to a nice 4-0 set. Can he get the 5-0 with his Double Dark Strat? Getting into the 5th match of the set, let's see if Shrady can clinch that 5-0 that I was just talking about. He's got an Azu on a Swampert lead, and as we know from the channel, from me using Swampert, Azu really needs to watch out for that potential Sludge Wave. But if the Azu can avoid the Sludge Wave, it does take this matchup pretty well. Probably doesn't help though that he doesn't have Ice Beam, but again, I do think Play Rough and Hydro Pump works nicely with the team comp that he's put together with it, especially because he wants Azu to be able to handle those fighters. Unfortunately, that Sludge Wave did get through. His opponent swapped into a Beedrill. That is quite a pick, and that would deal super effective damage with its bug moves against his back line. Actually, it would deal neutral damage to Scrafty because Scrafty is also fighting type, but his Azu then got Poison Jab down, so now this Beedrill's got a decent amount of energy, and he decides to bring in his Swilus because if Scrafty came in, the counters would be double resisted, the power punches would be double resisted, and it'd really be relying on getting to foul plays, and with 2 shields, that's not too reliable, so at least his Swilus can deal not super effective, neutral Dragon Breaths to the Beedrill to try and take it out. He's also going for this Body Slam here and takes out the Beedrill. So I'm surprised his opponent didn't commit more to it, and then his opponent brings in a Bastiodon and he decides to swap in his Scrafty, and now the Swampert's coming back in, but Scrafty has a good chunk of energy and is just revving up with this first Power Punch. So the question now becomes, will Scrafty be able to take out both the Swampert and the Bastiodon? Honestly, I think it will be because it doesn't even really need its charge moves that badly to take out this Swampert. This Power Punch should get a shield. It wouldn't do a lot of damage, but it should get a shield, and now the counters are doing even more damage, and he's going to be able to counter the Swampert down, and it's only going to get one more charge move through, being this Hydro Cannon. He commits both his shields here, which is important and smart because of the fact that Bastiodon in the back, its charge moves aren't going to hurt as much as Swampert's Hydro Cannons. So now the Bastiodon comes back in. He's going for his 3rd Power Punch. So this Scrafty is really just maximizing its potential at this point in the match. His opponent's getting off a charge move. This should be a Flamethrower. Stone Edge would be resisted, but Scrafty handles that no problem. And his opponent's like, you know what? That Flamethrower did absolutely nothing. I have no chance here. And Scrafty clutched it by slaughtering that back line, and he pulls off the 5-0 set. Shrady, thank you for submitting that set of battles. I really enjoyed watching them and commentating over them. That Double Dark Strat you got going on is quite a force to be reckoned with. Might have to try it out myself. If you guys want to see more awesome battles like that, you don't just have to check out my channel, check out his. He's been putting out consistent content. Like I said earlier, I highly recommend it. The link to his channel is in my description. Also, let me know what you guys thought of his team and the battles he had. And if you want to submit your own battles, the link to my Google form where you can fill it out and submit your set of battles is in the description of this video. Other than that, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.